All right, welcome to another episode of Gaming with Mystic Nomad. Today we are going to be talking about the Neverwinter character loadout. You can follow me here. You can find me on YouTube. Like and subscribe there. Also, I'll be posting this video to there later. But today we're gonna cover the loadout on the Neverwinter. I've ran into a few new players, and their number one concern or complaint is that there's really not enough new content for new players coming to this game. So I'm going to try to address that over the next period of weeks or months maybe. I'm going to try to make some new content for new players coming to the game. So make sure you follow me and look me up on YouTube to keep up to date on new content that I'm going to be providing. So with all that being said, let's get started. What is a character loadout on Neverwinter? We're going to take a look at my Barbarian, which is a very new character that I just created. And I haven't made a loadout on him yet. And we're going to have a look and see what to do. Okay, first off, you need to be in a safe spot. You have to be on a fire, a prayer area, somewhere safe. Anywhere in Protector's Enclave, I believe you can do it. I'm not certain here. I can look. Yeah, so you can change that anywhere in Protector's Enclave. Anywhere else, you have to be on a fire or it will not work. When you make a new character, you automatically come with the loadout you start with and one extra loadout. So, what makes loadouts important to new players? This is a barbarian, right? When you first start the game on a DPS type character, like a barbarian, you're going to be running through as a DPS, a blade master. This character also has a tanking class. So you can use that loadout, character sheet. Once you open your character sheet up, down at the bottom it says Y for loadouts. You just hit that, and you're going to pick new loadout. Now, because I made this character during an event where you got special stuff for making new characters, I have 2 extra loadouts, but we're only going to need 1. So we're going to name this one, rename loadout. We're going to name this one tank. Okay. And then we're going to hit the make current, which is the A button. And now we're going to switch to that new loadout. Now, if you look, what it has done is it has taken all my equipment off. It's given me all my stats back to attributes to put in. It's taken off any mounts, equipment, companion stuff. It's just all gone. Oh, there's a mount still there. The mounts are still there. Okay. But the companion stuff is gone. Any enchantments that you had on, they're now gone. But they're in your inventory. They're not actually gone. There it all is. Now, what this allows you to do is you're going to be able to change your gear to a tank build on this barbarian.
Welcome to the Shrine of the Gods.
Well, I don't have any tank gear for this guy because, like I said, he's new. But we're going to start with these attribute points here. So,
Welcome
strength
to
and
the
constitution.
shrine of the gods.
Constitution for sure. Stamina regen and physical damage. The stamina regen is probably going to be the best way to go here. You're definitely going to want the constitution for the maximum hit points. I just set all those back up. I've already earned them all. And then hit confirm to change that. Okay. And then we're going to go to powers. And we're going to pick Sentinel. Since we already have a Blade Master loadout for the DPS version, we're going to go to Sentinel and make a tank version. Okay, so now that changed all the powers. You have to repick your powers. You have all your class features are all new. You have to repick all of those. Okay, so we're going to get Sentinel slash deal physical damage to all nearby enemies, automatically block all attacks from the front as long as stamina remains. Stamina does not regenerate while charging. And we're also going to use Challenger Slash. Delivers a 3-foot attack to enemies in a cone before you, dealing physical damage on each hit. And it adds increased threat. So that's your threat modifiers. I'm going to put that on my left trigger because I'm going to use that the most. And then I'm going to... Oop, wrong trigger. Put that on the left trigger. There we go. And then put that on the right trigger. Okay. And then we're going to pick out our
You would do well to seek the favor
punishing
of the
charge. Land
gods.
at a target enemy, dealing physical damage. It stuns as well. That's a single target. Not so fast. That would be your AoE. So if you're moving, killing trash, that's gonna hit multiple enemies instead of one. So that's gonna be a variable there. I'm gonna go ahead and go with not so fast. And then once you get to a boss, you change that to punishing charge. And then we're gonna come and get it. Threaten nearby enemies, placing yourself at the top of the threat list, and it draws
And you shall be rewarded.
any nearby mobs will be drawn towards you. It'll actually pull them at you. And then take down. That's also single target or primal fury. Deals physical damage to nearby enemies. So that's increased threat. That's also going to be your AoE assault. So whether you're clearing trash or not, so you're going to bounce back and forth between takedown, primal fury, and punishing charge, and not so fast. We're going to put that in place of bloodletter. Daily powers, savage advance. Lunge at a target enemy, dealing damage. It's not back and nearby enemies. I don't like using not back as much. Let's see. Increase your maximum hit points by 35% and restore the amount increased. Okay, so that's just like a self heal. That's probably going to be my main one. And then class features. We're going to go with Challenger's Charge. Punishing Charge now places you at the top of the target's threat list. So that complements your punishing charge here for a single target. Put that on there, and also threatening presence, increase threat generation. That's just your overall make people mad.
Invoke your patron deity, and you shall be rewarded.
Okay, and then for the class features, frustrating slash, and then indomitable might. Strike, Indomitable Battle Strike now deals an additional 200 magnitude damage. Sure Strike. And that one there is neither here or there, because really, for this Sentinel build, you're not going to be using either one of those. They could use some better class features for the Sentinel class. We're going to do disarming takedown, because that's going to complement our takedown when we're running that. And then okay, so that complements your Savage Advance. So we're going to do Crushing Advance. So now Savage Advance no longer has a knockback.
Welcome to the shrine of the gods.
And it also debuffs and makes your enemy take their target take 5% damage. Or it reduces the amount of damage the target can do by 5%. And this is single target AoE. I'm probably going to go with the single target one, just because AoE is not so big a deal. Okay. I don't have any boons on this character because he's just brand new. So that's pretty much that right there. And then you just go through and put all your gear back on. Now in this instance, I don't have another set of gear. If I had other gear, you can replace your DPS gear with tank gear in this instance. So you're going to want more defense, you're going to want more awareness, and you know, just the ability to take more damage, obviously. Now this has got awareness on it, so I'm going to put those trousers on. Critical avoidance.
You would do well to seek the favor of the gods.
Something to keep in mind here, when you're putting this new stuff back in, or you're repopulating your character, if you have any items that are the same on either build, if you put them out of order, like say for instance these rings, if I put them out of order, then every time you change build, it's going to show you taking those rings off and putting them back on in a different spot.
Welcome to the shrine of the gods.
I'm going to put that on for the defense. My lantern for the debuff. You could go in here to your mounts as well. You can start changing around some of your insignias to get more hit points and damage. You'd want to use Fortitude. I think Prosperity's hit points, yeah. So it gives you combined rating and hit points. But that's how you switch from loadout to loadout, how you make new loadouts. Rename that to tank. And then to get back to your other one, you just go back to it. I'm going to rename this into DPS as well. I know for certain which is which. And then just make current. Guess you got to rename it up here. Okay, so now tank. And you can see that it's switched to gear out. It's unable to equip some items, so we've got to go look and see what it's not equipping. Okay. Oh, we didn't want to do that one. We want to do this one. There we go. We're going to put in our 4 enchants on the defense side here. Okay, so that's that one. That's basically how you do a loadout switch. So now we're going to go through and look at some of the different classes and what kind of options you have. And this is really what makes these loadouts important. Is like, for instance, you wanted to create a healer, and you go through your cleric, and you're trying to get through content. It's going to be extremely difficult to remain in that healer build and be able to do content by yourself and get through campaigns and stuff. It's going to be hard to do that on the outside of a group. So let's look at my healer here. So this is the heal build on the healer. And if you've got him set up for healing, there's really no... I mean, there's a few damage here. Daunting Light, that does 280 magnitude damage. Sunburst, that does 260 magnitude damage. It's a knockback. But like getting into content, the upper end content, there's just no way that you're going to be able to complete stuff in a timely manner. Just to give you an example here, put Daunting Light on. That's 4,700 on a crit. 4,800. 44. So now let's switch over to damage. Now I can toss this light spear. That was a 100k hit. That's 200k hit. So that's the difference. That's night and day difference right there. So that's what makes these combat these loadouts more important. Because you're going to be able to switch from a healer, you're going to be able to switch to a DPS if the class allows. Let's look at, okay. Look at the great weapon, or the Guardian fighter. Just go to this fire over here. And this would be my tank loadout. You can see here I've got stuff that makes threat, shield throw, increased threat, enforced threat, line breaker, increases threat. I got my powers all to, you know, to utilize my threat generation and survival. But they don't do damage. I mean, they do very little damage. So you can switch this character to a DPS version. And now I have damage abilities. Trimmer does physical damage to all nearby enemies. Griffin's Wrath delivers a threefold attack. It's a 1300, you know, magnitude attack. Onslaught. Definitely night and day difference. And you know, trying to go through content just as a tank, there's just no, I mean, you can do it. It's going to take you forever. You may not be able to get killed by stuff, but you're not going to be able to kill stuff either. This way, you will be able to actually damage stuff and hurt them. Let's look at the wizard or the warlock. Now, I do not have the heal version on this warlock, but it does have one. It has a heal loadout. Get on the fire here. Okay, so on this one, I've got the AoE. So I've got a AoE setup built on this, and then I have a boss build set up on this. And that's basically all that does is it's a single target versus a DPS version. And it's just going to change what powers I have in my encounter power tray. I don't even have a loadout for the heal on this. And there's another one or two like that, like your rogue and your wizard. You're just going to have a single target DPS, and you're going to have an AoE target DPS set up. If you want to set them up that way, you can do it all on one and just change your encounter powers as you go between, you know, clearing trash and fighting a boss. You can absolutely do that. Or you can just take the quick way, so every time you clear trash, you're on single target, and then when you get to a boss, there's usually a fire before you fight the boss. And you can just hit the fire, change loadout, single target. You don't have to switch anything, it's just one button click. Just boom. Now my encounter powers have changed. Some of my gears changed, so it's dealt more towards a single target instead of multiple bosses or multiple mobs. Like I said, the wizard, that's, and you're gonna have your AoE set up and you're gonna have your single target set up. There's really nothing else they can do. They're just pure damage dealers. Yeah, I have new and original, and I think that on this particular guy, I just redid the loadout and named it a new one. I think I'm an Arcanist on the other one. We're going to look at my rogue. Okay, let's have a look at the rogue here. Fire down here. I don't mess around in this area too much. I know there's training dummies here that you can get. Just considered a safe area you can change. Okay, so this whole port is considered a safe area where you can change. So single target, you can see that my abilities are different. I switch back and forth between Path of the Blade and Lashing Blade just because some boss fights have ads that come in and some don't. The boss fight has ads, then I'll leave my Path of the Blades on for the AoE damage it'll do. If the boss fight does not have ads, I'll go ahead and pick my Lashing Blade. And then I run Wicked Reminder. And then my Assassinate. And I'll usually hit that, I'll hit that while I'm stealthed, and it'll give me the extra 25% attack damage. And AoE, of course, is completely different. Got to get away from that, so I'm out of combat here. And with that, I also have different debuffs in my artifacts. Like this one's Demogorgon's Reach. It's more of a single target. And then it provides more power in a circle. So if I'm in a group fighting lots of enemies, I can pop that. And then AoE, completely different setup. I still have my Path of Blades, but now I have Smoke Bomb that gives combat advantage to me and all the players in my party. And then I have Stealth, and I have Blade Flurry. Like I said, I use Staff of Flowers with this setup. You can get a big area of damage going. Really do that AoE damage. What's another important note to loadouts? DPS in this game, there's a lot more DPS in Neverwinter than there is your support classes like healers or tanks. So if you have a fighter, instead of going into that queue as a DPS, you can switch over to your tank build and queue up as a tank, and you're going to be able to get into that queue a lot faster than a DPS would. Same thing with the healer. If you queue up as a healer, you're going to be able to jump right into those queues quick and make that money. Those random queues, that's 36,000 rough astrals. That one's 14,000 rough astrals. That one's 48,000 rough astrals. But if you see on the right, if you roll bonus as a tank, you get an extra 8,000 astral diamonds. So that's 56,000 rough astral diamonds just for doing that one dungeon as a tank. That's extremely helpful to be able to switch those loadouts to run those queues to get that money. What else can we cover? Paladins, you have your tank and a heal set up for that. You can go either one. Or, I don't know too much about Paladins. I've never really messed with them on this game. I've always been kind of a DPS person. And the fighter for the tank, and my cleric is for the healer. I haven't messed around with making a warlock healer, and I haven't messed around with a paladin or a bard. Bards also have a DPS and a heal. With the paladin, you have a tank, a heal, and they don't really have a DPS setup, but you would want to try to probably change your loadout to make it better than just a tank or better than just a healer. There's probably going to be different abilities there in that situation. Really don't know what else to cover here. I think I've covered pretty much everything. We'll do a quick review. So to make a new loadout, you come with 2, just like this guy here. He's only got 1 and 2. You got to be on a fire or in a safe area. And then once you switch your loadout, you have to go through and re-put all your stuff on. You got to put it all back on. Even your companions, you have to make sure you're running. If you're not running the same exact companions, you have to go through and put new companions back on. You have to do all of it. Their equipment, everything. And this is where you can make the tweaks in between the 2 loadouts. You can put different equipment on, and it'll automatically load that equipment onto that loadout, and you don't have to sit there and go through and switch it every single time. It's just automatic. Once you get that loadout set, you put the stuff on it that you want, boom, it's saved. You don't have to mess with it no more. You just switch to your next loadout, boom, it changes your gear. You can see there it switched around my staff of flowers and my tentacles on the artifacts, just because I use different ones in different situations there. The reason why you'd make new loadouts, if you're a fighter, running through and doing content as a tank would be really hard and extremely long and arduous process. So being able to make a loadout that's going to do damage is huge. It's a game changer to be able to do damage on a fighter. Same thing with the healer class. If you're running through on a cleric and you're trying to do content on your heal build, it's going to be arduous and grueling. And being able to switch over to a DPS loadout to run through content by yourself, doing your daily quests and just questing, doing campaigns, you can switch over to that DPS and run that DPS. It's huge. It's a game changer. How do you get more loadouts? So there's a couple different ways. You can buy loadouts off the Zen market. Let's see here. That's character slots. I think it's in service supplies or services. But they might have moved that completely into your Wondrous Bazaar. They used to have it on here too. I haven't done this for so long. But I'm going to try to make content for new players. I'm going to go back and do new stuff that new players need to know. Yeah, okay. So, Wondrous Bazaar for sure.
Do you have astral?
You can go here. You can buy a new character loadout for 400,000 astral diamonds. If you have a high enough VIP, you also get a discount, so it'll go down to like 300,000, and you can buy a new character loadout like that. There's only a few classes maybe that you might need to buy more than, an extra loadout, like this a pure DPS like your rogue. You're just going to have a single target loadout, and you're going to have a AoE loadout, and you don't really need more than that. Two's enough. But like a barbarian, for instance, you might want a tank loadout. You might want a single target DPS loadout, and then also an AOE target DPS loadout for your barbarian. So having 3 loadouts on that would be something you might think about. And then a paladin, that might be another one that you might have 3 loadouts on. You'd have your tank, and then you'd have your heal, and then you would want something set up for a DPS. I think we pretty much covered everything. We've covered the importance of having loadouts. Get you in those queues faster. If you're, DPS, you could switch over to a support class. You could definitely get in there a lot quicker that way, like a tank or a healer. Also, the ability to be able to, get your content done by yourself, doing quests and stuff a lot quicker. Switching from a tank to a DPS or a healer to a DPS, that's going to help you go a lot quicker. I think that's going to about do it for the loadout walkthrough. You can follow me here for more content. You can also find me on YouTube and look me up there, like and subscribe there for more content coming out. Because I'm gonna make more content for new players. I'm gonna try to make new stuff for new players coming in. Also, I'm gonna be covering some of the events coming up. We got a lot of events coming up in June the 15th. So, like, follow, subscribe.